Hello, friends and family of the internet. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. My name is Samantha, and boy, do I have a video for you. Yes, I do. We're going to discuss Andrew Tate, George Farmer, Nick Fuentes, and Candace Owens. I'm curious if anybody else is starting to see the pattern of all these children of CIA agents now becoming huge platforms on YouTube under the conservative heading. Is anybody else noticing that Candace Owens' 8-part series on Brigitte Macron was supposed to be attempting to fight against the global cabal and elite of trafficking underage children for adult reasons? Yet her husband has ties to a man that was carrying 3 separate indictments from 3 countries. Really? Let's talk about it, folks. Let me see if I can get this pulled up for you guys. Let me see. Hold on. Give me a second. I had started doing this and then something happened and it literally cut me off, which is not uncommon. You know, Satan fights against getting this type of information out. By the way, if you found this channel, it was not by accident. I am shadow banned. So if this was sent to you or you found it because you've been researching these topics also, welcome aboard. Welcome to my channel. We're very close to 104,000 people. I hope that you'll join us. Just so you know, I do not get paid by YouTube, but I do offer a newsletter and Zooms with those who row in my boat, and you can look in the top of comments for that. Please add your email to whatever you send. All right, so we all know that Candace Owens, her husband, this is a picture of Andrew Tate and Candace Owens' husband in Romania. Yet she keeps saying that she is fighting against child trafficking and the elites, but she marries into an elite Jewish family. And her husband is best friends with Andrew Tate.
After 17. Candace and I met in December of 2018, and we got engaged very quickly after 17 days.
Thursday just looked up. What?
As I was having this dinner with my husband and his friend, Andrew Tate was there. I had no idea who he was. This is kind of before he really took off on the internet.
I've known Andrew for many, many years. I've known Andrew since before Andrew was Andrew. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I've known Andrew since before he was famous, I guess. Andrew is a great guy. He really is.
I had my assistant at the time with me who happened to be Romanian. She's born in Romania, speaks Romanian, happened to have been in the United States. She spent a lot of the time that we were there talking to him. She comes over to me afterwards and she says, this guy, Andrew Tate, I think he's a pimp in Romania. I said, what? And she's like, no, I think he's like actually a pimp in Romania.
I said, what? But the assistant that sets up my appointments, makes sure that my clothes are laid out, gets all of my travel documents and things organized. I can't trust her to tell me when somebody's evil around me. Okay, Candace.
Like all humans, he's flawed.
If you're a guy and you hold citizenship in America or in the United Kingdom and you decide to uproot to Romania, it's got to be because you can do a little more dodgy stuff in Romania. It's the Eastern Quarter. This is how things work.
Candace and I met.
Well, I thought she was fighting against human trafficking. I mean, that was my opinion. Andrew Tate ran a sex trafficking ring, but he's so stupid that he bragged about it and got caught. And who is his biggest defender? Her. Why? There's so many rumors going around with that, and I'm not even going to waste my time on it. But a lot of people feel like he's got some really bad dirt on her husband. Therefore, she's going to say whatever she needs to say.
The charges include rape, human trafficking, and forming an organized crime group, as well as illegally accessing a computer.
Hold on. Let me get this big because I want you guys to be able to see this. This is bad. Say what you want about Andrew Tate, but this is bad.
Prosecutors in Romania have filed formal charges against the controversial influencer Andrew Tate, his brother Tristan, and 2 Romanian associates. The charges include rape, human trafficking, and forming an organised crime group, as well as illegally accessing a computer system and violence against one of the alleged victims.
We know there are 7 alleged victims. There are separate charges that are still under investigation that may be the subject of a separate indictment in the future, and they include money laundering, influencing statements and trafficking of minors.
Tate is facing a claim for damages from 4 women in the UK, 3 who worked in his internet sex business for sexual violence and rape.
A Romanian court has agreed to extradite the controversial social media influencer Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan to the UK. Bedfordshire Police has obtained a European arrest warrant over allegations of rape and human trafficking.
Additional new complaints brought by additional women on top of the existing complaints and the victims that we already know about, thereby increasing the number of women who have brought allegations of rape and serious sexual violence against Tate.
Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan have been accused of failing to pay any tax on £21 million of revenue from their online businesses. Devon and Cornwall Police is bringing a civil claim against the brothers and a third person referred only as Jay. The force is investigating recovering around £2.8 million scattered in 7 frozen bank accounts.
So what are you charged with? That's a really good question. I'm charged with...
How many people are going to defend him? Candace. Oh, yeah, right.
I've known Andrew for many.
You and Candace went to Romania with Andrew Tate. Candace interviewed Andrew Tate.
Long time.
I know, it's been a very long time.
You've known Andrew Tate for a number of years. You were just with him for that interview.
Yeah, I've known Andrew for many, many years.
You see this?
I've known Andrew since...
Y'all saw how he holds his hands like this constantly? I did a search on that. This means power and influence. It's a hand sign the elites use, especially the men. I've seen some women do it, but the men do it a lot, usually sitting right above their crotch. I'm going to show you some more pictures of him doing that.
Before Andrew was Andrew, you know what I mean? I've known Andrew since before he was famous, I guess. Andrew is a great guy. He really is, and he's a wonderful guy in many ways. Like all humans, he's flawed.
As I was having this dinner with my husband and his friend, Andrew Tate was there. I had no idea who he was. This is kind of before he really took off on the internet. I had my assistant at the time with me, who happened to be Romanian. She's born in Romania, speaks Romanian, happened to have been in the United States. She spent a lot of the time that we were there talking to him. She comes over to me afterwards and she says, this guy, Andrew Tate, I think he's a pimp in Romania.
I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money. That's what I wanted. So I was a pimp in that sense.
I said, what? And she's like, no, I think he's like actually a pimp in Romania.
By taking girls who didn't know how to be effective on webcam, girls who had never done webcam before, girls who didn't have the equipment, didn't have the know-how, didn't have the will, didn't have the premises, didn't have the ability to make money with this exchange.
Off camera, I think he would be the first person to admit that. Like, he's a flawed human being.
I created a system that allowed me to convince girls to do this, allowed me to retain 100% control of their income. I know how to make sure the girl can't run away.
I know Andrew pretty well, and like, you know, as I said, I know that he's full of flaws.
You know how to make sure the girls don't run away. Yeah, you take their passport, you creep. How can anybody trust any of these people in this elitist group? Any of them? They're all plants. They're all frauds. Every stinking one of them. Every stinking one of them. Especially her. That's why they picked her. That's why they picked, she was picked, she was chosen. Childhood and education journey of Andrew Tate in timeline. Now, let me point out what I really want to show you guys. Of course, Andrew Tate's father was an international chess master. There's also rumors he was CIA. Anybody that smart that was an international chess master probably was recruited by one of our intelligence agencies. Andrew Tate was born in 86. He moved to England in 1997 in Bedfordshire. His dad died 2015. Andrew Tate and his brother moved to Romania in 2017 because Tate liked living in countries where corruption is accessible for everybody. And he believed he would less likely face, you have to read this on your own because eventually I'd like to be paid by YouTube. All right, in 2019, he established something called the War Room. In 2022, he converted to Islam. Andrew Tate is an Islamic person now, okay? He became a citizen of Mantua. Wow. And now in 2025, he's launching the BRUV Party, B-R-U-V, Britain Restoring Underlying Values Party. How ignorant can you get? You really think he's going to kick out all the Islamic people? Because he talks about on his BRUV Party how they're going to take back England and stop all this massive influx of people. But here is what this man believes. Here's the person Candace Owens put her entire career on the line for. I believe that men are the divine imperative to become as capable, powerful, and competent as possible. I reserve the human right to hold my own beliefs and practices them as I see fit. I prefer loving, rewarding, consensual relationships with beautiful, positive, and virtuous women. I believe men and women are different and that each has their own unique, important strengths and abilities. I believe men have the sacred duty to protect and provide. I believe men have the sacred duty to protect the innocence and sanctity of their children and reserve the right and responsibility to raise their children as they see best and to ensure their long-term happiness and success. Yes, he talks about raising honorable sons. Sacred duty to raise kind and feminine females. I utterly disapprove of violence within romantic or familial relationships, but not with your prostitutes. I support good and honest governments, and I will obey only their laws. I prefer to only conduct business dealings with trusted and vetted brothers. If you know anything about the Muslim religion, what he's saying right there. A man has a sacred duty to hold true to his word and do exactly what he says he'll do. I believe that a man's life is difficult and he has a sacred duty to become strong. I believe men are personally responsible for their actions. I believe in emotional control and the vital need to become disciplined. I believe that men have the sacred duty to approach everything from life with a positive strength. He's weird. This is a weird human. He's weird. Wow. Anybody else not see the demonic here? Okay, how far back do George Farmer and Andrew Tate really go? So, okay, George Farmer is married to Candace Owens. He was in the Bullingdon Club. Guys, the Bullingdon Club. was known, just do your own research. They were known for destroying property. It was a elitist group, an all-male club from the 1700s, where they smoked cigars, went out to dinner, and destroyed whatever restaurant they ate at, and then left the check to cover the expenses. It's a bunch of entitled little brats. Then you've got George Farmer now coming out as a conservative. You got Andrew Tate now coming out as a conservative. Andrew Tate is Islamic. Candace Owens and George Farmer are SSPX. They are in a group of the Catholic Church that was excommunicated fully for numerous years and are just slowly coming back into the good graces of the Catholic Church. But my point is this: when the Antichrist comes on the scene, the rapture happens, and then we start the 7-year tribulation, there will be a one world religion. That will include Islam and this section of the Catholic Church, SSPX. Those two will combine together. So you've got an elitist, George Farmer, and then you've got Andrew Tate, whatever in the world he is. They are together for a reason, and that is to help usher in this part of the one world religion. Mark my words. Andrew Tate has openly told whoever would listen online how he made his fortune from prostituting women he pretended to fall in love with before entrapping them into a life of sex work through violence and intimidation. He's a very dark character, obsessed by materialism and demeaning women. For the year 2025, he provisionally launched a political party called Britain Restoring Underlying Values, BRUV, that promises to restore pride to a nation under siege, and even declared his interest in becoming prime minister. Tate openly hates women and extracts pleasure from dominating and humiliating them, as evidenced from his online videos that he himself talks. And this tweet from June 29th: my dad was a chess genius CIA operative. My mother, a dinner lady. They had absolutely zero in common. Dad, she fed you boys healthy meals every day, cleaned the house, and was largely quiet. I loved her very much. That's literally all men want. Tate was released from house arrest by Romania court January 14th, 2025, pending the outcome of a criminal investigation. He's facing allegations of trafficking minors, sexual intercourse with a minor, and money laundering, alongside his brother Tristan. Of course, they denied it. So what's a toff like Farmer doing hanging around with a crook like Tate? What have these two been up to? George Farmer's net worth is estimated between 170 million to 230 million. Not bad from a guy who read theology at Oxford, who knew Bible study could be so profitable. Andrew Tate's net worth varies wildly from 11 million up to 700 million because, it tells everybody he dodges his taxes. George Farmer made the cut sign to his wife when she brought up the Tate connection on her show in 2024. He looked uncomfortable talking about his bromance with the former professional kickboxer who can't stop banging on about his wealth and how much he hates women. The newest one that has emerged is definitely my favorite, that Andrew Tate has blackmail on you, says Candace, laughing. Ha ha ha. Does he? It's not like George Farmer is holier than thou, despite his efforts to put forward an image of quiet, Bible-reading conservative. The pair bat off the suspicions as if it's crazy conspiracy theorists on the internet, making things up for no reason. Owens again displays her skills at deflection. She is masterful. For an apparent convert to Catholicism, Owens has wonky morals, going as far to discredit Tate's trafficking victims as an effort to protect his protest of innocence. Following her public conversion to Catholicism in April 2024, Owens was quick to flog the Hallow app on her Candace online show. Find God and get 3 months free sprawled across the page as the slick presenter read her auto cue to perfection about the world's #1 prayer app, funded by no other than Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance. And people got mad at Trump for selling Bibles. First lie, Candace Owens, along with Tate, repeat over and over that Tate stopped having anything to do with pornography 10 years ago. That would be 2013, but this is provably false. There's plenty of proof that Tate was still producing porn up until his arrest, including financial records. $3 million from webcamming in his brother Tristan's account. Funds are still coming in as late as August of 2022. Second line. Candace claims Tate's Romanian criminal case began in 2021. As already proven in the screenshot above of Tate's charges, they began in 2016. Third lie. Of course, she would have to push the date back to 2021 because she would not want to be associated with meeting someone under human trafficking investigation in 2019 like she did. Candace and Tate continually state that Tate's videos teaching and admitting to grooming women into pornography have no bearing or interest on the current case. You'd have to be a fool to believe that. Candace Owens portrays the Tates as the victims of a calculating young woman. How about 32 of them? With a track record of making false allegations against other men. I thought that was so weird, though, that they wore their matching conservative hats at their wedding. That's not cute. I know more about the world than I care to. Mercer tried to get me to tell Bannon to shut up about populist nationalism. I was the guy who hired Milo at BNN. Farmer has sexually assaulted me. Candace blocked me from calling her sham marriage out. I know this from all angles. Her marriage is a sham? Now you've lost me. Well, when your husband is a homosexual, that makes for a difficult marriage. But if you support that kind of thing, I'm happy to lose you. That was 11/21/2022. The story seems to have died down online, but questions surrounding the sexuality of Andrew Tate remain. He's made no secret of his contempt for the female species. He's told anyone who will listen that sex for him is just a power play that inevitably ends in tears for the woman and injuries if she dares answer back. So it's fair to ask, is Andrew Tate gay? Here is looking into Super Camp at the Super Club in London, May 2012. Was it gay bingo night? Did Andrew Tate meet George Farmer at the Super Club or a familiar gathering? They both seem to share a penchant for exclusive dining experiences. Tristan and Andrew Tate at Super Club, May 6, 2012. 3 years after his image was taken, Spiegel International reported on the antics of George Farmer at his Oxford Bullingdon Club gang of hedonists on October 15, 2015. They met for a dinner at the Manor, a luxury hotel in Oxfordshire. They were taken there in a minibus, 15 young men in formal dress, including Vere Harmsworth, son of the owner of the Daily Mail, and George Farmer, whose father is a member of the House of Lords and treasurer of the Conservative Party. Two other members of the group were Tom Gibbs, grandson of the third Baron Wraxall, and Ali Daggash, who says that his uncle is the richest man in Africa. According to the report, the privileged toffs got through 50 bottles of champagne and wine before they began breaking things, splattered in blood. Just when and how did George Farmer and Andrew Tate meet? What did they do together that won Farmer a place on Tate's wall in Romania? Why the secrecy surrounding the circumstances of their friendship? If Candace Owens is grilling the Macrons about their morality, deservedly so, right? Surely it both works both ways. In episode 2 of her Becoming Brigitte series, Owens had to make an embarrassing climbed down after putting out false information surrounding a communion photo of Brigitte Macron. Where's the proof Brigitte Macron is a man? Lots of blather, but no evidence. Is she being used to bring conspiracy theories on a merry dance for the entertainment of the Bullingdon boys? Does she even know she's being used? I told you guys. I told y'all. She mixed so many nuances together to make everybody look like a fool. If you don't fall for her Brigitte is a man nonsense, then people come at you like, well, you're for child trafficking, teachers and their students, sexual abuse of children. Nobody with a right mind that's a Christian is. But I have not seen one shred of evidence put forth that Brigitte is a man. And I've also heard her continual lies about the Jews, and we're going to get there. It would be foolish to take morality lessons from any of these people placed in positions of power to influence our perceptions. They come with their own agendas. It's up to us to keep asking questions, left, right, up, down, and in between. Beware of fake conservatives bearing gifts. Praise God, whoever wrote this. Fantastic article. It will be linked. Absolutely will be linked. Let's see if I can let this play unless the language gets too bad.
Andrew Tate.
Long time.
I know, it's been a very long time.
You've known Andrew Tate for a number of years. You were just with him for that interview.
Yeah, I've known Andrew for many, many years. I've known Andrew since before Andrew was Andrew. You know what I mean? I've known Andrew since before he was famous, I guess. Andrew is a great guy. He really is, and he's a wonderful guy in many ways.
They didn't.
Could you imagine him and Candace talking? I can. Well, I want everybody to know my name. I want to be rich. I want to run for America's president. And he's like, well, yeah, you know, I eventually want to move up in politics too in Britain, but I'm a flaming gay, right? And I've got some really shady friends. But if we unite together and then we start sending out all this crazy conspiracy theories across the web and misdirect all these conservatives, then we can slip through and we can live the life that we want.
Teach you in self-defense? Here's a little move. When I grab you by your neck and you start annoying me trying to resist, and I just and then I grab you by your neck again. Then what the fuck are you gonna do when your face is collapsed and your fucking cheekbone's broken? You ain't gonna do
Okay, I think that's enough. Yeah, that's Andrew Tate. What you got to say about that, Candace? You never showed that part of Andrew, did you? Andrew Tate and his brother charged with rape, human trafficking, and prostitution offenses against 3 women in the UK. This is May of 2025. Andrew Tate and his brother fiddle my sticks. 10 charges connected to 3 alleged victims, including rape, bodily harm, human trafficking, controlling prostitution for gain. An international arrest warrant was issued by Bedfordshire police for the siblings over allegations dating back to 2012 and 2015. The charges were authorized in January 2024, but nothing's been fully released. They're also facing prosecution in Romania over allegations of trafficking minors, sexual intercourse with a minor, and money laundering. A separate case against them in which they were accused of human trafficking and forming a criminal gang, folks, to exploit women, has been sent back to prosecutors. We can confirm that we have authorized charges against Andrew and Tristan Tate for offenses including human trafficking, controlling prostitution, and actual bodily harm against 3 women. My Lord. Wow. Brothers who have long denied everything. Romania, Britain have been flamboyant online presence and inflammatory views, particularly toward women. Wow. We'll save this one. So I want to go to this one next. Watch this nonsense.
Wearing a microphone on his chest. Everyone else puts a suit on, hides the microphone. I'm like, get a microphone, bruv. Don't care. Built different. Don't care. One of my habits now is ignoring all data. It's great. I love when people come to me and say, actually, we've got the data to prove. To prove what, you little What are you going to prove to me? I can prove to you that the ice caps are melting. There's ice in my water right now. I'm going to leave the water unattended until the ice melts. Will the water overflow out of the cup? No. Why are all the richest, most important people in the world who are pushing this scam buying beachfront homes? Oh, but the data says. The data's from the Matrix, and you are the Matrix, and the Matrix is full of lies.
Can you see it? Do you have the eyes to see it? By the way, YouTube does not pay me. If you'd like to row in our boat, please look in the top of comments. Please make sure that you're subscribed, hit the like button. Can you see it? Because actually what he just said was true. But do you see how unstable he's acting? He is mocking us. He is not agreeing with us. He is not becoming conservative. He is here as a plant and a mole and a Trojan horse.
Anyone who actually analyzes data nowadays proves they're a dumbass. Have you seen that graph thing, that meme where you have the most stupid people and the most intelligent people do the same thing? And then you have the midwit in the middle. Data is for midwits. You know? Well, the data says. Yeah, the data says. Well, actually, I guess statistically, the pharmaceutical company who sells the jab made the data. Why are you even reading it? Why are you reading it? There were stupid people who sat there and said, the jab's made of 5G cellular data. And then there was extremely intelligent people like me who said, I don't trust these motherfuckers. And we both didn't get the jab. All the people in the middle were like, well, the data says, and the news said. They wouldn't just make us all take a jab for no reason. Jabby jab, jabby jab. If you even look at data nowadays, you're a dumbass. You should just know. Street smart people don't need data. We've just been around. You know? I've just been around. I just know things.
How can anybody find him attractive? And this is directly off Candace Owens' own page.
Always want to do a deal with to survive. It's difficult at the very, very top. We're talking about the highest possible echelons of power. And there's a lot of different interests coming your way. And you have to sit there and go, can I really war all of them? Or can I just ally with this one team? Which is unfortunate because people who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. It seems to be the same team every time. If I can just ally with this one team, I'm good against everything else.
Right.
And then people sitting in a position and they're like, yeah, I guess, I want to live and I want my children to live. And because it comes down to that. I don't think many people realize how violent the world is. We live in a world now where we have all of these facades on top of violence. But really, the world is just guns and bullets and violence. That's the reality of the world. When we talk about something like a court case, what is a court case? Well, a court case is a piece of paper. But if there was no threat of violence behind it, I wouldn't go. Or no one would go, right? You get a speeding ticket. You don't pay the ticket. They add more money. You don't pay it. They say go to court. You don't go. They send another summons. You don't go. They send an officer. He says come to court. You say no. Violence. It's all just garbage on top of violence. And at the highest echelons of power, what they normally do is they skip all the garbage first. They'll sit down and say, look, you can do whatever and you can be Mr. Smartass, but it doesn't matter how much money you have or how powerful you believe you are. Bullets kill people. and you have children, and they're going to die. And I've been around. Now let's talk about this professionally. If I know drug gangs who do that over control of a street corner, you're telling me they're not going to do that for control of the largest economies on the planet? You're telling me there's not going to be a single conversation about the fact that your children are walking the street for the largest economies on the planet? It's a very scary world these men live in. And
that he desperately wants to be part of and to control. Her too. I fully believe that. I fully believe Candace Owens married George Farmer to move up the chain.
Do a lot of things. That's the reason we buy fancy cars. Is it really the car, or is it because other people can't get it? That's the whole point. It's the peacocking. It's like, look what I can do. And amongst their perverse social circles, I guess it's a badge of honor to a degree. Mm-hmm. And then we're also going to talk about the fact that a lot of these men are not particularly attractive and haven't been attractive their whole lives. Like, I have another theory, and once again, I have no data at all to back this up, but I find it very interesting that it's Western politicians which are primarily caught up with these things. Primarily. You know, like you see a Russian billionaire, a Russian oligarch, whatever, and he has a wife, and then he gets caught cheating with his girlfriend. He has some girlfriend somewhere. Cool. And then we'll be like, that's terrible. Yeah, cool, it's terrible, fine. But then what do the Western politicians do? They walk around with Michelle. They walk around with their wife, and then they get caught on islands. So, like, is that any better?
Well,
like, is that worse?
Western politicians gay? That's another thing, and that is what kind of leads me to believe that a lot of these people are being blackmailed and that they're being selected for these positions. I mean, Emmanuel Macron is a homosexual. There's no question about that. Zelensky is a homosexual. Yep. You've got I was going to say, I almost said Fidel Castro. Trudeau, Fidel's son. You got Trudeau. He's a homosexual. Yep. Barack Obama was a homosexual. Yep. And then finally, when we get in the West, a president who's definitely not a homosexual, Donald Trump, they just freak out. They completely lose their minds. This guy cannot be president. He's not allowed to be president because there's no aspect of the most extreme form of blackmail, which is like, if we know that you have engaged in pedophilia, that you've been involved in any of these weird sexual scenarios, we can control you in office. Yeah. And
do you see how she's just nonchalantly talking to someone that has 32 victims under his belt and 3 countries of indictments for child trafficking underage girls? You can't trust her, because what she's saying is what you and I want to hear. It's what we want to hear, right? Don't play with me, because I know, because I want to hear that these people who've hurt these children will freaking pay. But Candace Owens is not on our side, because her husband is one of them.
Wait a second, you're calling me a CIA agent? Your fucking dad was in the CIA.
Saying that I'm a Jewish asset because my father was CIA. But I've been very honest and open about the fact that he was a translator and he spoke 3 languages. And I was also open about the fact that he was discharged without a pension for not following orders, ended up living in his car being a traveling chess player. And I had to grow up in a homeless hostel in Luton, England, fighting Kosovans at the age of 11. So if there's some big intel agency op going on, I never got any money from it.
As Nick continues to bulldoze through the political scene, the lines between friend and foe have become increasingly blurry. Having been consigned to the fringes of political discourse so early in his career, reservations on his peers' authenticity is understandable. Tate, too, has felt the weight of the establishment heel on his back. On X, Nick expressed skepticism over Tate's reticence to pick a side in the ongoing feud between Nick and Candace Owens. In this heated debate, Tate attempts to dispel rumors about his CIA affiliation.
And I would agree with you. I would tend to agree with you that if I were an outside observer, I would look at Candace and Tucker and myself, and I would think we're all on the same side. We're all pushing in the same direction. Certainly, we're all criticizing Israel. We're all against the war in Iran and the rest of it. And that's what I would tend to think. And yet, when I went out and did Candace's show, instead of talking about what we had in common, she wanted to talk about all the things that we had apart. And she in particular wanted to press me on if I really hated Jews and if I was really a racist. So that confounded me, because if I'm an outside objective observer, maybe without all the information, I would say, wait, aren't Candace, Tucker, and Nick on the same side? But being me, I went to do her show with my suit on, ready to talk about the Iran war, the neocons, all this kind of stuff. And she's pressing me, why do you hate Dave Smith? Is it because he's Jewish? Do you hate Jews for being Jewish? Are you a racist? Is that why you're against race mixing? And so I finished the interview, and not to relitigate the whole thing, but this is just a summary of it. I finish the thing and I get on my show and I say, it's weird she's putting it behind a paywall. I said, and also I'm unhappy with what we talked about. I thought this was an olive branch. Clearly it was some kind of like a lecture. I thought she was having me out to maybe extend an olive branch and connect. And instead I got a wagging finger from a woman in my face, which I don't really care for. And then, as if to make matters better, she goes with Tucker Carlson. And Tucker, who, you know, me and him have a bit of a history, he calls me a basement dwelling, weird gay kid. He says I'm a CIA agent. He unloads this personal attack on me. And so, yeah, I would not characterize that as infighting. I would say, to me, that looks like a coordinated attack on me, and it's not purity spiraling. It is coming from them in the other direction, saying that I'm too extreme. In fact, that's literally what Tucker said. Tucker said that I am a crazy anti-Semite who is trying to make them look bad.
Are y'all seeing it now? They are all platforms protected and promoted by the CIA. Candace, George Farmer, Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, the whole kit and caboodle. This is Project Mockingbird in real time. They don't care about kids. They don't care about any of it. They work for the dragon. It is why they hate Israel, because they want to steal the salvation
relationship. They couldn't pinpoint exactly what it
I want y'all to hear what she's got to say about this weird relationship between Candace and George Farmer.
anything like that. That's not my or call her out or, you know, bash her, trash her, anything like that. That's not my intention. Her content has got very rage baity, which I understand to a certain extent why so many content creators are going for rage bait, because that's what gets clicks and views, and that's what gets the conversation going, and that's what gets people talked about. It's almost like people are constantly doing a publicity stunt, and I'm not a big fan of that kind of content, but I understand why people are drawn to doing it, because that's what gets clicks and views nowadays. I don't like that the system is set up that way, but that is how the system works, you know? And I think that that gets into one of my first reasons why I think people are seeing Candace Owens and her husband's relationship as being, they can't pinpoint what's off about it. And I think it goes into a fundamental idea that Candace Owens, in my observation, in the span of just the content that I've seen of her, my sense of her content is it feels inauthentic. She has mentioned at times that, like, you know, she was more liberal when she was younger, and she looks back on some of her, you know, her old self, and she's like embarrassed by some of the things that she said in the past because she's grown and evolved, and more power to her for that. I think at the end of the day, I think if you're not growing and evolving, and if your opinions are never kind of shifting as you become more educated about, you know, life, and as you have more life experience and things like that, like, I think it's normal for and healthy for people to kind of grow and evolve their perspectives on life. So I would not judge anybody. I don't think that, you know, you have an opinion when you're 20 and you change your opinion when you're 30. I don't think that means that you're wishy-washy or anything. However, if you're somebody whose opinion is always shifting, and you're kind of always kind of like, ooh, that opinion that I had 5 minutes ago, well, I'm going to say this other thing that contradicts that opinion, and you kind of get very hypocritical, you get a little wish-washy. I know for me, like, I get like alarm bells that go off, like, ooh, this feels inauthentic. And I think for a lot of people that happens, but a lot of people, I think, aren't trusting their intuition, so they're just like, this feels off and I don't know why. And it's because you may not necessarily disagree with what that person is saying in that moment, but you're like, if you know that that person has relatively recently said something that contradicts it, you're gonna get an alarm bell that goes off. It's like, okay, I agree with what they're saying, but like, why do I feel like I still can't trust them? Or why does this feel off to me? I get that feeling personally with a Candace Owens, where even at times when she's saying something that I agree with, I'm often like, why does this feel off to me? And I think it's because she has said other things that contradict that. It starts to get you questioning the person's stability, which I think is a big factor. When you are looking to somebody to see if they're trustworthy, you want to see stability. Like, people that are unstable don't feel trustworthy. So if you feel like somebody seems to be really kind of wish-washy, it feels unstable and you're not going to feel like you trust them. So one of the things that is kind of a pet peeve of mine in today's society is it frustrates me because, as many of you know, and many of you have maybe found my content because I talk about masculine and feminine energies, and I feel like people are really starting to turn against the idea of masculine and feminine energies. And that frustrates me because I think the reason a lot of people are doing that is because they're falling.
I don't know what she means by energies. I've never seen her before, but I thought that little clip of what she just said was like so important. And now let me show you what's really going on. All right, Candace Owens could have talked about anything, but again, she talked about something that has no bearing, is not going to change how the world handles trafficking of children, none of it. She could have been talking about this for an 8-part
for
series,
you today,
you wouldn't have watched.
Not as a politician, but as a mother of a wonderful 8-year-old boy, and to tell you I'm fighting for his future. Nigel in Reform, all our politicians, the ladies on the panel, the volunteers, those at Reform HQ, are here to tell you all, we hear you, we will protect you, and we will fight for your children. And and all at Reform know, there are just two sexes.
Kent is a proud and ancient county, and our motto is Invicta, which means unconquered, undefeated, or invincible. The irony of our shores being invaded day after day by men who have fled the safe country of France to come to the UK by choice is not lost on my residents. So I'm going to leave you with some unanswered questions. How many rapes is too many? How many sexual assaults is too many? When is this government going to wake up to the reality of what so many women and girls are experiencing? I believe this is now a national emergency and should be treated as such. Thank you.
Where your borders are secure, your streets are safe, and your children, our children, can grow up free from fear. That is the Britain we deserve, and that is the Britain we shall have under Reform. Because this country doesn't belong to the gangs, the predators, or the politicians that protect them. It belongs to us, the people who work hard, raise our families, play by the rules, and we deserve to live without fear.
The truth is, we have no idea who we're letting in. No idea how many of them have criminal records, or who might be a red flag to our security services. How many are drug dealers, murderers, rapists, spies for hostile regimes, terrorists? What we do know is that this government is being forced, kicking and screaming, to accept that foreign nationals are 4 times more likely to commit rape or sexual assault than British men.
Yep.
The inconvenient truth for the left is that the culture of men from predominantly Muslim countries, like Afghanistan, is one that holds a medieval view of women's rights. It is fundamentally alien to the centuries of progress made by our own Western culture and attitudes. Women are at risk of sexual assault and rape from these men. Hundreds of young men who arrive in this country, housed in our communities, who undoubtedly become sexually frustrated, have a warped view of their right to sexually assault women. Of the 1,453 sexual assault convictions in 2024, 25% were committed by foreign nationals. Afghan men are 3 times more likely to be convicted of a sexual offence than someone born in the United Kingdom, and represent the largest group of migrants who commit sexual violence against women. And yet we know that 18,000 at least were covertly let into this country by the last government with no.
So there it is. There's what's really happening. Human trafficking is happening. People like Andrew Tate facilitate it. And somehow George Former is all caught up in this. Candace Owens got promoted because the CIA is what created social media. Do your own research, folks. It's not that hard. I love you guys, but they're all plants, every single one of them. That is not the voice of the future of the Conservative Party. Because if you support these people, you're going to find very soon that they're the ones caught up in everything. And by the way, I did hear a little bird say, I'm not going to give up too much information because I haven't dug into it very much, that Trump is getting that Maxwell, whoever she was, who was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. She is getting, she's going to turn on Hillary Clinton. That's why they moved her. There's something going on there. And who's been screaming that he's letting her off? He's letting her off. Candace Owens. And did you guys hear P. Diddy died? Is that true? I don't know. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee or my dogs a treat, that would be a huge blessing. No paycheck in 5 months. Tends to make being able to get coffee a little hard. But thank you for listening. Let me know what you think.